Hello, traders. Because of any coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday, September 15th, 2024. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the complete flip-flop in the markets. Last week, we had 18 bearish indicators. This week, we have 18 bullish indicators. The Fed will report on rates on Wednesday as the markets flip from negative gamma to positive gamma, setting up longs for the week. We'll start off with 18 bullish indicators, 1 neutral and 1 bearish, a complete opposite of what we saw last week. The markets rallied last week. MACD crossing higher, stochastics rising, with the call wall at 57.50 and price just below previous resistance levels. We'll start off the week with a little bit of caution as we closed on a bullish candle. That gives us a bullish bias for Monday morning, with the put wall holding firmly at 5,500 and RSI showing strength of trend. At the same time, the S&P Equal Weight Index, that removes the weight of the top 15 stocks that we're always focused on, closed near all-time highs. Again, a double top that needs to be dealt with. Bollinger Bands are tight. They could open up this week. The number of stocks above the 20-day in the upper panel is rising. The number of stocks above the 50-day in the lower panel is also rising. Neither are in the red zone, so there is a possibility of a follow-through as well as breadth improves, reflected in the advanced decline percent levels that we saw to end the week. S&P 500 in the top panel, followed by mid caps, small caps, and the NASDAQ in descending order. All four pointing higher, but not in the plus 30% zone where we would start to take more profits into strength. The big caveat, of course, the big elephant in the room, is we'll be opening near all-time highs. We have the New York Stock Exchange, high-low, NYHL, giving us a taller histogram bar, firmly bullish. Advanced decline percent is rising to new highs. And the New York Stock Exchange Composite 2,000 stocks on green elder sticks, headed back up to a potential double top this week. So it's with this in mind, relative performance, 10 New York Bang Index stocks continue higher. We did close above the 50-day on Thursday and followed through on Friday. MACD and stochastics are bullish, so there's no reason we shouldn't see a follow-through. It all depends on how the markets react to the Fed on Wednesday, 25 basis points, or is it 50? The one bearish indicator we have for the week is the NASDAQ 100 A-Rune indicator. You can see the bullish side is dropping lower. It's not completely bearish, but it is dropping through 50. We have yet to see the red line turn higher. If that were to happen at resistance this week, say on Wednesday evening or Thursday, that would definitely be something that would tell us to take more profits off the table. If A-Rune bullish turns back up, then we'll have another situation which we'll reassess on Thursday morning. For now, all of our indicators are giving us bullish continuation signals, with the IWM catching up last week as well. Complete reversal from the previous week, as rate cuts should affect small cap companies that borrow at higher interest rates, with the idea that we could retest the highs that we put in July and August. Additionally, the McClellan oscillator is positive, starting to approach previous levels of resistance. If we get up to plus 60 this week, that would be a caution signal. That said, we do have the NYSE turning back up, confirming the institutions are buying and the trend's potential for continuing to all-time highs. Additional bullish indications for the week: junk bonds and high-yield corporate debt are at all-time highs, with the 10-year closing at the lows for the week, with the 20-year bond addressing the highs last week, and the dollar back to 52-week lows. With the lower dollar, gold and silver remain bullish, closing at the high of the week, heading for that $3,000 an ounce mark, with the latter resistance levels coming into view overhead, and copper, a leading economic indicator, closing back above its 9/21/50 and 200-day moving averages yet again. MACD and stochastic suggest that we could see this follow through. That's actually a good thing for the economy if we see this moving higher. Despite the slowdown in China, copper prices are rising. That's bullish for the economy. Finally, along with energy, crude oil prices, commodity prices, and gasoline have all dropped to the lows. Good for the consumer as prices mediate at the pump. Overall, we have bullish indications for the week, so it's just a matter of how does the market react to the Fed rate cut on Wednesday. In addition, all sectors, with the exception of energy, are bullish. We can see biotechs, IBB, moving higher off the 50-day, above the 21-day, and the 9 EMA. So if you're thinking about biotechs, more than likely we'll see a follow-through this week. We do have a bullish bias to start Monday with that bullish candle closing above Thursday's high. Real estate and associate names also pushing higher, closing just shy of all-time highs, with potential for a follow-through over the next several weeks after we get that Fed rate decision and market reaction. Semiconductors closing on a strong note above Thursday's high. We have a bullish bias going into Monday. However, we do have the 50-day moving average just overhead that we need to conquer in the short term. MACD and stochastics rising, volume is increasing, with semis in charge. XBI, the S&P 500, biotech ETF also higher. Oil and gas equipment at lows. This is fading with energy. Materials somewhat bullish, moving higher. The communication sector, led by Meta, Google, and Netflix, higher as well, back to a potential quadruple top, with room to run up to that level Monday and Tuesday perhaps. Coincidentally, lining up with the Fed rate cut on Wednesday, financials neutral, but above the 21-day, 50-day, and 200-day moving averages. Industrials back to highs, obvious bullish trajectory in the short term. Semis, well, if semis are higher, then you need to see tech higher as well. Software, hardware, cloud, internet, etc. Even consumer staples, defensive names are higher, adding to the potential for follow-through. In addition to utilities, defensive, interest sensitive with the Fed rate cut looming on Wednesday. Fixed income folks are buying XLU over the last several months. Healthcare neutral to bullish above the 9/21/50 and 200-day moving averages. Everything is up and to the right. And consumer discretionary, which is a sector that if you're bullish, you definitely want to see this moving higher. You could see what happened back in July when we had that sell-off. That impacted the markets as well. So consumer discretionary higher, definitely a good thing for the bulls. That said, potential double top looming over the next several days. Finally, there's retail in a sideways range, moving back above the 50-day moving average. Do we follow through? Hard to say, but many of the retailers have been moving higher, like Costco, TJ Maxx, Walmart, and BJ's Wholesale, to name a few. So with all of the sectors moving higher, there is the caveat, of course, that what's left to be bought if everything's moving higher. So our task this week is to focus on stocks that have potential for follow-through, knowing full well that Wednesday is a rate cut and a potential catalyst that we'll need to reassess on Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. Starting off the week, the majority of the IBD 50 stocks are rising and following through. This week we'll cover some blue dot scan candidates from Market Surge over at IBD. These stocks look really good. I really like what Chewy has been doing With the stock closing on a bullish bias, Bollinger Bands rising, RSI showing strength of trend, MACD and stochastics also bullish with volume increasing, showing institutions have been picking up shares. Look for Chewy to follow through this week. Maybe a stop underneath Friday's low to start. If we continue on the follow through, move your stop up underneath Monday's low. Astrana Health, ASTH, following through, volume increasing, Bollinger Bands rapidly expanding, pushing through recent highs. Again, another stock on the blue dot scan where you have relative strength and a stock about to break out to new all-time highs. Stochastics and MACD rising, volume increasing, showing institutions are picking up shares. With Bitcoin showing some strength last week, we also have stocks in the group like Core Scientific with the bounce in Bitcoin headed back above the 50-day, moving towards the 200-day potentially this week. Patrick Industries also breaking to new highs on the blue dot scan as well. Volume increasing, MACD stochastics rising. The company has good earnings, as you can see. All four metrics are green. 11% earnings growth, 10% revenue growth. The company is into everything, as you can see here. Manufacturer of component products, distributor of building products, recreational vehicle materials, manufactured housing, you name it, kitchen cabinets, office and household furniture, fixtures, laminated panels, granite and quartz countertops. This company does everything. Very interesting, though I've never heard of it. Just pointing to the fact that many stocks are seeing buying activity from institutions and will likely continue higher in the short term. As the weekly chart shows a bullish trend continuation, MACD is turning, volume increasing, looking good for stocks in the building and home improvement group. As you can see, Home Depot also following through this week. MACD and stochastics rising with tropical depression Francine off the southeast coast, Carolinas, dumping lots of rain with continuous buying in these sectors relative to what we've been seeing lately, indicating we could see a follow through into the end of the year. Track, another stock from the blue dot scan, looking for stocks that are showing increasing relative strength, about to break out to new highs. Kind of a weird name, but they provide on-demand software and data solutions for the automotive retail industry. Also, DealerTrack, utilizing the internet to link auto dealers with banks, finance companies, credit unions, etc. If the New York FANG index continues to move higher, we'll be looking at some of these names for follow through this week. With Apple showing a little bit of selling on Friday, that's a bearish bias coming into the week. Amazon, though moving higher, it is finishing off with a bearish bias to start the week as well. Broadcom and many of the chip stocks closing at highs. Just check your favorites. Many of them continued last week, with Micron bouncing off the lows. Google with a strong finish on Friday. It does have a bullish bias to start, so we'll look for a continuation or a rejection in this area. More than likely we follow through. RSI is rising. MACD and stochastics have turned up. Volume increasing. Look for a push above the 21-day and a retest of the 50-day this week. Microsoft starting off with a strong footing as well. Bullish bias to start Monday. Meta also showing potential if it manages to get above Thursday's high. Netflix with some upgrades, finishing on a bullish bias. RSI rising, showing strength of trend. MACD and stochastics rising. Just need to see more volume. Going to retest the highs. Coincident with that Fed rate cut on Wednesday? We'll see. It does look bullish though. NVIDIA finishing on an inside day. RSI is rising. Look for a follow through. It's going to start off with a bearish bias, but we're sitting on top of the 50 days. So maybe we bounce on Monday and head higher into the Fed rate decision on Wednesday. Tesla also finishing strong. Looks like we could take out 235 this week. If we do 255, we got a 20-point move potentially. So keep an eye on Tesla. This one looks really good. RSI rising. MACD and stochastics moving higher. Volume showing institutions have been buying shares. Tesla with a new vehicle lineup, the Model Y with 6 seats being talked about only last week. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Because of Any coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for Sunday, September 15th, 2024. Remember, the markets closed strong, but we do have the Fed on Wednesday. So this will be an opportunity to take more profits off into strength, reassess the markets. That said, we do have positive gamma, so risk on unless we fail and drop below 5,500. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 o'clock midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that later tonight. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend, what's left of it. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.